Economic news is bad, but since one of the primary jobs of the financial media is to keep us focused on the crisis of the week and keep our eyes off the big picture, no one on TV is saying just how bad the situation is. But among economic observers who aren't bought and paid for, there's a growing consensus that we're headed for a convulsion that hasn't been seen since the Great Depression, or perhaps ever. Welcome to Collateral.
Earlier today, I spoke with members of my economic team. They updated me on the state of our economy.
Constant stream of lies coming out of Washington about the state of the economy should tell you all you need to know about the trouble that's coming. The housing bill that's being pushed through Congress is the latest example. It's supposed to help ordinary people, but debt-ridden homeowners won't get any money directly. As noted by the Automatic Earth, it's banks who will get the money. People won't get a single discretionary dollar. Of course, some homeowners will get temporary relief from their onerous mortgages. But they're still going to have to repay new loans, and those new loans are going to be based on overinflated home values. That's not likely to help in the long run.
It's clear our economy is slowed, but the good news is we anticipated this and took decisive action to bolster the economy.
You've probably heard by now that the two largest suppliers of U.S. home loans, the government-sponsored entities known as Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, are in deadly serious trouble. They're holding tons of bad paper without a real chance of recovering the money. Fannie and Freddie make money by borrowing in the bond market and reinvesting the money in housing-based mortgages and securities. But the housing market's in terrible shape and it's getting worse. And the securities market for bundled mortgages is basically shit. Former St. Louis Federal Reserve President William Poole came out and said what should be obvious. Fannie and Freddie are insolvent, unable to pay their obligations. But the Bush administration can't afford to let them fail. So a massive $800 billion bailout fund is being engineered that, if it were to be drawn on in full, would put the U.S. national debt well over $10 trillion.
So my message to the American people is this. I know this is a difficult time for our economy, but we recognized the problem early and provided the economy with a booster shot. We will begin to see the impact over the coming months. I think it was in the Rose Garden where I issued this brilliant statement. If I had a magic wand, but the president doesn't have a magic wand.
When and how is this going to be repaid? Never and no how. We're an out-and-out kleptocracy now. Like compulsive gamblers who just can't leave the casino, every day these institutions are losing money that they don't have and borrowing against the future just to avoid the ugly consequences. We're still largely asleep to all this, but when banks start to fail in larger numbers, that may get our attention. Here's the bottom line. U.S. banks have almost $7 trillion on deposit, more than $4 trillion of which are supposed to be insured. But the banks have less than $300 billion of actual reserves on hand. The rest is just out there, thanks to fractional reserve banking, and much of it is gone in bad loans. The FDIC, which insures deposits up to $100,000, has about $53 billion in reserves. Well, that is, it did until the IndyMac failure ate up $8 billion of that. Now, conservative estimates for bank failures that are coming soon total over $100 billion. The math says that there's not enough to insure all of those deposits. So what do you think is going to happen if banks can't pay their depositors our money when we come calling for it?
I just want my money at home, my college funds for my kids. And then I'll go put it in some other bank that will go under in the next month.
We're drowning in debt, public and private, and nobody has put forward a realistic scenario that digs us out of it. And this time, if and when the bottom falls out, things will get much worse than they did in 1932. As has been pointed out by James Howard Kunstler, during the Great Depression, at least we had a country rich with natural resources, millions of family farms, the world's best rail system, functioning factories that were ready and waiting to actually make things, local economies and local culture. Today we have nothing like that. So things will get really bad around here and in the not too distant future. Hope to see you next week.